And then, before we get to Q&A here, this obviously has to be incorporated into some sort of exercise program. So if building muscle is the goal, and it is, I know for some people, or just toning or preventing injury and wanting to be a bit stronger and I don't know, more flexible or more dynamic and exercise performance, resistance weight training is a great way to go. I mean, I've been doing it for almost 30 years. Myself, I enjoy it. I enjoy the muscle building aspect, the injury prevention aspect, the empowering aspect of it, the community culture of being in a gym environment and around other people who are motivated and working toward their own goals and shared goals and on this maybe the same path that you're on as far as health and fitness. And so doing some sort of resistance weight training with free weights, machines, cables, body weight, whatever you've got access to. The whole idea is that you do it, finding things that you enjoy. So if that's going to the gym and using barbells and dumbbells to do things like bench press and squats and deadlifts and lunges and all this kind of stuff, then great. If it's doing circuit machines, but really working pretty hard, putting in a good effort there on all those different machines, that's great. And if it's using body weight at home, using dips and push-ups and shoulder presses and squats and lunges and planks and all that, that's great too. And so basically you get out of it what you put into it. So whatever effort you put forth, you'll tend to get those benefits, and then use all those nutritional principles to support that I talked about earlier with the protein intake, the food intake, calorie expenditure needs, and the diversity of those, kind of those top most beneficial foods. And if you can do some weight training or resistance weight training, we'll call it 3 to 5 days a week, 45 minutes to an hour a day. I mean, that's really all we need. I mean, most of us are not preparing for the Olympic Games. We're not representing our country and as a major professional athlete. We don't have 6, 7, 8-figure contracts for our professional sports teams with endorsement deals with all these brands, where most of us are just trying to stay in shape and maybe live a little bit more comfortably with a little bit lower body fat to muscle ratio, and just help live a little bit longer life, perhaps through regular exercise, and helping that lead to increased odds of longevity and just better heart strength and lung strength and overall feeling of wellness and then all the other byproducts that come from that, the mood enhancement of that we get from exercising, and the feeling of accomplishment or joy or community or partnership or training with a friend or a group, that kind of stuff. There's myriad benefits from doing that. So do that 3 to 5 days a week. Like I said, just 45 to 60 minutes a day. We have 1,440 minutes each day, so we're only asking for a small amount dedicated to some sort of training. And then just do some cardiovascular exercise. I mean, I've been on, like I said, I'm out here visiting family. I've been out taking the family dog on a walk multiple times today for like almost an hour at a time. This is a little bit more than I usually do back at home. And I'm going to do another one after we finish recording here, take advantage of the countryside and the sunny day and getting the family dog out there. But do that kind of stuff. And I mean, many of us have pets, not all of us, and many of us have dogs, not all of us. But to me, and I've got 2 dogs at home back in Colorado, and it's just one of the great things that I like to do for their enjoyment and their exercise and their health benefits. I even have a dog, sorry to go off on a tangent here, but he's 18 years old. He's been plant-based as long as we've had him, for 12 years. He's doing incredibly well. And I mean, this guy's 18 and he loves his plant-based food and loves outdoor exercise. And we've got an 8-year-old, and we take her out for longer walks because she's more agile, can go longer and all that. But it's a way to bond in that way, get some outdoor exercise that way, be consistent that way. And it's a way to get your steps in, your own cardiovascular exercise in, while having this enjoyable experience with some other individuals. And then you see lots of neighbors and other people with their dogs. And anyway, that's just what I encourage. Also, little things like, just to wrap up here, little things like taking the stairs as often as possible. again, I'm traveling right now. I did stay in a hotel for a couple nights up in Portland, Oregon before I came down to see my family because I was doing some stuff up there. And I use the hotel gym. I try to take the stairs as often as possible. What I want to do is rely on movement. I mean, we sit so much. We sit at a computer. We sit at home. We sit in our cars. We sit in front of our screens, our phones, our tablets, our televisions. Then we lie down if we're lucky, for 8 hours a night. We don't do a lot of movement these days. And so if we can just incorporate movement, that's fun. I mean, go play pickleball, go swimming, go ride a bike, go hiking. I mean, it's for many of us around the world. It's spring moving into summer right now. I mean, get out there and do something. And really, at the end of the day, that's the main thing I wanted to share with you is that building your body on a plant-based diet requires showing up and doing the work. It requires understanding calorie expenditure and calorie intake. It means creating a meal plan that supports that. And it means doing the things like the resistance weight training that's going to build muscle, or the type of exercise, including resistance training and cardiovascular training, that's going to burn fat. I mean, I talk to people all the time, and I hear from people all the time. I heard from someone recently who said, I just want to lose weight. I'm so tired of, not being able to lose weight. And I asked what they're doing for exercise, and they revealed they hadn't done a single workout in at least a month and a half. But they're frustrated daily. And they weren't that much overweight, but they'd like to lose 25 or 30 pounds or something like that. It's not like they're 100 pounds overweight and it's too daunting to go exercise. Someone who wants to lose 25 or 30 pounds, but when asked, so what are you doing? What are you working on right now? What have you done lately? What's your routine? Oh, I don't do anything. I do no movement outside of just walking, throughout the house, but no bike, no swimming, no team sports, no gym, occasional walk, but nothing else. But then how are we going to get to that outcome if we're not doing it? And likewise, sometimes we think we're doing it. We think we're exercising a lot, and we're not. And the only way to know is to document it and have that documentation, because we have things called weekends and sick days and holidays and parties and days we don't feel like it, days the gyms are closed, or days that it's too cold outside, or it's too rainy, it's too muddy, it's too hot, it's too wet. I've got something else going on. I'm sick. I've got a wedding to go to. I've got a work travel event. These things actually add up way more than you think. Yeah, we've got 52 weeks in a year, 365 days, all that kind of stuff. But if we factor in, well, it's Friday, I'm tired from the work week, and now it's Saturday, Sunday, I'll maybe start up again Monday. Even if we just miss 3 days a week, I mean, that's 3/7 of our entire year. We're not doing anything. And that's on top of, or that's before we factor in all the other things that come up, the unexpected. Oh, I got sick. I got injured. I hurt my wrist, my shoulder, my knee. I got to be out for a few weeks, a few months, whatever. It all compounds. It all adds up. So I just wanted to communicate that kind of in closing, before we do some Q&A, I have no business being here with so many of my amazing colleagues and role models and heroes that I look up to that are real experts. I have no business being a champion bodybuilder. I mean, I barely weighed 100 pounds when I became vegan. And especially being a vegan, I was not expected to build my body or to excel or succeed in really anything physically active. But I figured out how to do it. And I showed up day after day. And sure enough, I did become a champion athlete many times over in multiple sports, including bodybuilding. And then when I chose to write about it, I have no background in English literature or writing or anything like that. But I wrote some of the best-selling self-published books in America, outselling more than 90% of all books that are created. These are ones I just self-published myself, and that landed a book deal with the world's second largest publisher And then the week my book came out, my latest one, The Plant-Based Athlete, became a New York Times bestseller and a #1 international bestseller, and is in languages from Chinese to Korean to Hungarian, Polish, German, Spanish, Italian, and likely more on the way. But it was as a result of showing up day after day, showing up to write for hundreds of consecutive days, never missing a day of writing. I did the same with exercise, even something small, push-ups and crunches. I did 739 consecutive days. Nothing extreme, mind you, but just I did a little bit every day for years to build up habits and behaviors that then became second nature. So that by doing that, I realized that I could do something further or something bigger in sports and in writing, and now with speaking and touring and all of that kind of stuff. So I want to leave you with a quote that I leave in all of my presentations. And thanks for bearing with me. I'm in what turns out to be a very hot room. And so I've struggled to get through this presentation sweating and with this hot lamp on me and a window right over here. So I've been struggling to get through this today, just with the stuffiness and the hot atmosphere where I am right now in unseasonably warm Western Oregon. But I'd like to leave you with a quote that I share all around the world when I give presentations. It's a quote from H. Jackson Brown Jr., who said, 20 years from now, you will be more disappointed by the things you didn't do than by the things that you did do. And he goes on to say some other stuff about, sail away from the safe harbors, catch the trade winds in your sails, explore, dream, discover. I don't care about that poetic stuff. I care about whether it's 20 years from now or 2 years from now, we're going to be asking what might have been. Man, I had an opportunity to pursue this interest that I had. Maybe this is my year to finally lose weight, or to finally build my body, or finally feel comfortable in my own skin. I just didn't do it. I just couldn't cultivate the enthusiasm or motivation or energy to eat a bit healthier, or to just show up and exercise every day. Even when it got challenging, I didn't know how to choose my hard. I had a choice. Feeling not so great is hard, but also embarking on a exercise program and a healthy diet is hard too. And you just got to choose your hard. There's always going to be hard choices. And really what I found is when the pain of where we are right now finally supersedes the pain of the uncertain, unfamiliar, new territory that we're about to embark on, that's when we finally decide to make change. When the pain of staying still and being stagnant and being maybe where we are compared to where we want to be in health and fitness and wellness and longevity, that's when we finally do it. I heard Dr. Robert Maurer, who wrote a number of bestsellers. One, it's already in 40 languages, about the Kaizen system. He mentioned in a lecture that I attended a while back that the average, I believe American, I don't know if it was the average person, but we'll say the average American sets the same New Year's resolution for 10 consecutive years before deciding, you know what, maybe that's not for me. Maybe I just don't have that in me. And we all know that many New Year's resolutions end on January 17th or January 19th, and then we wait another 11 and a half months to try it again. But are we really doing it? Are we really putting ourselves in a position to be successful? And that's where documenting your meals and exercise for a week or so at a time will tell you, yes, you are putting yourself on track, on a trajectory, in a position to achieve your goals, or no, you're not. And that self-awareness is going to be really, really helpful. And being honest with that self-awareness that, yes, I have it in me, or no, I don't. And I need to be realistic about my expectations and maybe change my goals as a result, based on what I am willing to do, the discipline that I am or am not willing to invest into this process or into this pursuit. So as H. Jackson Brown Jr. said, 20 years from now, you really will probably be more disappointed by the things you didn't do. the dreams you didn't chase, the actions you didn't change, the things you didn't pursue that you really wanted to, but you just were scared for one reason or another, or you just weren't comfortable, and you didn't learn to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And that's what I would encourage you to do, to try something a little bit different, and set out on a path where you can follow right here. Whatever it means a lot to you, whatever moves you, whatever motivates you and inspires you, that you will feel empowered to do that. So I want to thank you for joining me today, and I hope you got a few pieces of take-home material from today's presentation. And you can always get in touch. I'm writing a new book, so I'm not on social media quite as much as I used to be. But veganbodybuilding.com is my website, and I've been running that for over 20 years. And I'm working on some new projects now. So I'm on tour. I'm still on tour quite a bit. And so maybe I'll see you in your town one of these days. So thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And I believe we're opening it up to Q&A now for the next, I don't know, next half hour or so. Is that right?
Yeah, that's about right. Yeah. Thank you, Robert, so much for that very informative information. It's a very inspiring story of going from a farm boy to a professional bodybuilder. So that's great. So just so everybody understands regarding the Q&A, the way that it works is we don't take any questions directly from chat. And before I even get started, you have a book, I believe, yes? Or is it's not coming? It's not out yet.
Yeah. I have a current book, a New York Times bestseller called The Plant-Based Athlete. I was at Barnes & Noble signing books yesterday in Portland, Oregon. So yeah, I've got.
Where's the best place to get that?
We're really the best place is Amazon, to be honest. But I also have signed books in over 300 bookstores in 29 states. So if you go to your local bookstore, you might even find a signed copy. That's just something that I do as a fun hobby, and it helps sell a lot more books. So there's signed copies around the country right now.
All right, there we go. And it's also available through our website. So if you buy it through our website, it'll go to Amazon, but it'll actually, we'll get a little bit of money to help support what we do here at the Real Truth About Health conference.
Yeah, so do that. I've got 4 books that are out in print, one just ebook that's only on my website, but these 4 are all available. So yeah, go get them from the Real Truth About Health. That'd be great.
All right, beautiful. And for the Q&A for the audience, we don't take questions directly from chat. What we do is we ask that people raise their hand, and they can, but in order to raise your hand, you'll click on the reactions button second from the right at the bottom of the Zoom window, and then click on raise hand from the menu that pops up. When I call on you, I'll ask you to state where you're from and to ask your question. And we just ask that questions are brief and on topic. I actually want to ask you a few questions first. So what do you find is the hurdle? So many people want to make a change, and they don't like where they're at. What do you find is the hurdle for people to get started?
The hurdle is not being able to connect the dots in advance. And I mentioned that briefly in my panel the other day, but I want to just further explain that, because that is the hurdle. So when I first started, I actually I envisioned myself many steps ahead, that if I do this today, if I invest, I'm little, small, lifting little tiny weights, but if I do this over time, it's going to get easier. I'm going to get bigger. And it's funny, Michael, maybe these are superficial things. I envisioned myself on magazine covers. I was on multiple muscle magazine covers around the world, featured in dozens of magazines and on the covers. And I pictured that. I envisioned being, someday I am going to be a champion bodybuilder. And even with my book, people ask, Robert, did you ever envision you'd be a New York Times bestseller? I said, absolutely. I predicted that 20 years ago. I talked about it. I wrote about it. I spoke about it. I connected the dots far in advance. I've been doing that for my whole life. And so I'm doing it right now. I'm doing it in a lot of ways for my next projects, my next things, my next travels, or ways that I can give back, ways that I can help others, ways that I can help animals. I always take a step back and say, where do I want to be? What does that future look like? Who do I have to become in order to do that? And what do I have to do today that makes me get closer to that tomorrow? And that's making hard decisions. Sometimes it's allocating my time. And so what happens is most of us conserve. We conserve energy. We don't want to expend energy if we don't have to. We'd rather walk than run. Running is harder. We'd rather take an elevator than take stairs. We'd rather do the easier project than the harder one. That's just our human nature to conserve, conserve energy and not expend it as much as possible. But if we can understand the benefits of doing that, by they say that quote is, discipline is just the difference between deciding what you want now and what you want most. And sometimes you have to put off what you want now for what you want most. Maybe what I want now, Michael, is I want to sit down on the couch, drink something, and watch basketball for hours. But what I want most is to feel good and look good and be an example of this vegan fitness lifestyle that I care so deeply about, which means I might still be able to watch basketball, but I've got to lift weights while doing it or do a plank while doing it. So what keeps people, the hurdle is that there's a fear of the unknown, and there's just a strong pull of doing what's already part of your habit and part of your behavior without changing. Change is scary. But what I found is that, man, if I want to do some of these things, run a marathon someday or become a bodybuilder someday, I can't just wish for it. I have to work for it. And yeah, it's not always fun. It's not always easy. I met plenty of people who had incredible body transformations. They had to go through some hard times of like weighing and measuring food until they got an understanding of nutrient calorie density, where then it became more second nature. But they had to learn it first. Because if you don't know how many calories are in the food that you eat, or how many calories you expend through exercise or lack of exercise, you just don't know how to adapt to that. You don't understand it. But once you do it for a while and you do adapt to it, and it does become part of you, then that defines you. That defines who you are now. You are now that person that you used to kind of dream about, or hope that someday you could be. And that's true for academics. That's true for relationships. That's true for business. That's true for work. I mean, I was joking with Steven about that on my previous one. He's like, I just can't get to the gym. I'm like, what? You can put on one of the world's largest conferences of its type, show up every day and do hours of lectures and presentation interviews, but you can't establish a routine of 20 or 30 minutes of exercise? Yes, you can. You just haven't made that a priority. That's all it is, Michael. It's just making it a priority and saying, today I'm going to take a step forward to be one step closer to where I want to be. And you know what? A year or 2 years or 3 years from now, I'm going to be there, and it's going to be awesome. And once you understand that, and once you get there and feel like, oh, wow. In my case, wow, I did it. I became a champion bodybuilder. I became a New York Times bestselling author. I did it. I get to tour around the world. Those are superficial material things that I wanted, but all the steps are the same. Even if you just want to reduce your risk of the scariness of having a cardiac event. I mean, that would strike so much fear in me, and I actively today work to avoid that. Even if that's just your goal, like I just want to be able to climb the stairs easier or not be as winded or whatever, then do what you need to today so that becomes a reality in whatever time frame works for you.
Thank you for that. And what do you find, I've encountered people that they'll be on a good path for a while and then all of a sudden they fall off. What makes people deviate from a path once they're on it? Have you found that when you work with people?
Yeah, that is, and I've done this so many times myself, because once you stop, the consistent behavior and the rewards you get from that, and that what we call a consistency streak, that there's a lot of pride in that, is so hard to start again. So example, Michael, I did a certain amount of push-ups and crunches every single day for 739 consecutive days. That's, what's the math on that? 2 years or so without missing a day. About 100 push-ups a day, 200 crunches a day, every single day. And that had nothing to do with building my chest or abdominal muscles. It was about building consistent habits and discipline and character and all that. One day I forgot. I just forgot. What happened the next day? I didn't pick up where I left off. My streak had ended. I stopped and I didn't do it again. I might probably waited a year or two, and then I did it again and got like 400 straight days. And then I forgot again. And I got about 100 straight days and I forgot. And let me tell you one other example. I took a lot of pride in this because it's a difficult exercise. I use the Stairmaster. It's no one's favorite thing. It's just hard. You're just climbing stairs over and over on this rotating, thing. And it's so much work. But I was going on the Rich Roll podcast. I knew it was going to be one of my biggest platforms I'd ever been on. And so I used the Stairmaster every other day. I would never go 2 days without using it. Never, for months. I would not miss 2 consecutive days. Michael, you know what happened after I got on the Rich Roll podcast?
What happened?
That was 2 years ago. And I haven't been on the Stairmaster since. Because the motivation changed, my streak had been broken, and I couldn't find it within myself to start again because it's a hard exercise. It's daunting. Mm-hmm. And so I found other things to do. And that's true for so many of us. And I see it all, not just in me. I see it all the time. I saw it last week. I see it all the time when your behavior changes and it's over. You're eating really well, but then everything fell out the window. Party, birthday party, cake, desserts, all this stuff, candy. It's so hard to start again. And so I don't know exactly what the answer is, because clearly I've done that too. Even with book writing, like I was determined to write every single day, never miss a single day, 2 pages a day, every day for months and months and months. And then I got COVID sometime last year. And it took me months to build it back up again, where then I could get that habit going again. So I think the goal is to just do something small every day that's attainable. Like my just 100 push-ups was pretty attainable, little sets of 15 or 20 throughout the day. Wasn't that hard. So that you can maintain it for a long time, knowing that once you break that, like studying a language, I have multiple friends doing that right now. They missed their consecutive streak of studying Russian or Spanish. They haven't started again, and it's been weeks. It's human nature for us that once that streak is broken, it's hard to do it again. But I guess I would say, when that does end, to jump back in as soon as you can. And I've done that sometimes. Other times I haven't, like in the Stairmaster case. And so get back in as soon as you can. And if you can avoid it, try not to break that consistent behavior streak in the first place.